What's up, guys? Venom is back with another video. We're gonna be talking about a subject that I took interest in because I've heard it reiterated sometimes. I can't remember in person, like if any of my friends have mentioned it. I honestly can't remember, but I've seen memes ever since like Metal Gear Solid 5 came out, and recently I saw it as a topic in Reddit. There's opinions out there. People believe that the old Metal Gears in the Metal Gear Solid or slash Metal Gear franchise, that those pieces of weaponry are more advanced than the newer models. So I pretty much wanted to make a video and pretty much answer if that's actually true or not. It's not exactly a debate at all whether they're more advanced or not. So it's a tricky answer, but there is an answer. So it's yes and no. See, the thing with the Metal Gears is that Kojima personally didn't write Portable Ops. However, it is canonical or slash quasi-canonical. Kojima stated, I think it's a very rare interview, if I remember correctly. He said that it is canon except for the parts that conveniently create any inconsistencies with the with the story, which is pretty funny. It's just a pretty funny way of making a game like canon. So pretty much it is canon, but anything that contradicts the story is not canon. Just throw it away. So the general story of that is canon. So in that game, there is a Metal Gear named ICBMG, codenamed Raxa. So it's technically the first ever Metal Gear model, though it has Soviet origins. If you played Metal Gear Solid 3, you would know that Granin actually was the originator of the concept, because at the time it was just a concept inside the game storyline. It was just plans slash blueprints of and he actually dubbed it a Metal Gear, you know. And this was the first ever Metal Gear created. And the name ICBMG pretty much means Intercontinental Ballistic Metal Gear. So the rundown of this Metal Gear, which is pretty crazy. This one in particular is it's actually kind of horrific. And to be frank, every single Metal Gear model is horrific. So this Metal Gear was a mobile nuclear missile platform. It is based on Granin's designs and was primarily developed by Sokolov. Its capabilities are having 130 millimeter bulletproof armor, and it's 5 inches thick, if I remember correctly. I think that's what it means anyway. Again, I'm not a military expert. I'm not a consultant or anything. This is just me as a gamer trying to explain to you why these Metal Gears are not, the old Metal Gears aren't technically more advanced, or in a way, some ways they are, in some ways they're not, and there's the context surrounding that. The other armament that they have is the M1919 machine gun. It has the anti-tank missiles, and it has multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. That's the nuclear armament. The thing is with this Metal Gear is that it actually needs a rocket of sorts to actually propel itself and shoots it off into space. That's really fucking crazy, honestly. But this rocket booster also requires both solid and liquid fuel, which means liquid nitrogen and also liquid oxygen and kerosene to give the rocket booster enough force to pretty much be launched. It would be able to have nukes that could target, any major city within the Soviet Union. The thing about it being so difficult to intercept was because once it launched into space, it would then travel to wherever it was programmed or it was supposed to start attacking. So the best way to describe it is like it would propel itself into space, and then it would move. Of course, the rocket booster would eventually actually deploy it wherever it's supposed to actually go. So it would re-enter the atmosphere over its target. So let's say the Soviet Union is its target. And once it's re-entering, it'll go through enemy territory at, a very high velocity to the point that nothing could actually intercept it, not even tanks. So by the time it starts actually parachuting down, which apparently it parachutes down at 3,000 feet, it would already launch a miniature nuclear warhead. So by the time it actually lands, everything else won't be able to do anything because the target of which it's supposed to actually attack would be gone. Yes, that does sound pretty damn advanced. But then again, and this is the core of this entire I want to say this is kind of like the core of the whole argument as to why, as to whether or not they're actually more advanced. See, the Metal Gears, at a certain point in time in the story, were all developed by out of this world geniuses. Like, they were experts in their entire field and nobody was as good as them. That's kind of like the context of each and every Metal Gear and why they may seem like so advanced, especially for their time, especially compared to others. So yes, though this is pretty damn advanced, it's kind of also impractical just from the fact that it even needs a fucking rocket. It's a mobile nuclear system or nuclear weapon, but the thing is, it needs all of this, plus it needs a rocket, and it needs to get shot off into space, and then it kind of has to move, into whatever the target is. But that's highly impractical, and even with conventional warfare, you have soldiers or whoever right there, they would more than likely be able to take it down. Would they not? I mean, yeah, maybe they wouldn't be able to penetrate the Metal Gear, but they could do something they could do something. I don't know. I'm not a fucking soldier. I'm not a specialist in that kind of field, but they would have to have something that would somehow penetrate either the Metal Gear or the rocket, at least the rocket, because that's the main weakness of this Metal Gear, because without that, pretty much this is nothing, But still, the main thing about this, which is a core in Metal Gear development, is pretty much how it's supposed to be the difference between infantry and artillery. That's supposed Metal Gear, the answer. So it stealthily is supposed to go into space. It's space, come on, and then it goes in so fast to the designated target. So yeah, even though stealth is the game when it comes to the ICBMG, it's highly impractical unless there's just no way anyone's ever going to reach this thing, Let's get into the next one, which is Peace Walker. I will say that it is pretty advanced considering it had 4 legs, so it was quadrupedal. It also had like an AI. However, it wasn't, in the end, if you played Peace Walker, you would know that it wasn't exactly reliable. Also, AI at the time was at least historically and in the game, it wasn't exactly the most advanced piece of technology. Yet people were still, developing it. It was pretty much a prototype technology. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but I'm pretty sure that's how, in the 70s, realistically, that's how they were. And I mean, don't get me wrong, secret military tech and all that jazz regarding on a global scale is always going to be more advanced than what we have publicly, which is how Metal Gear honestly is able to show us such high-tech shit, because it's also a piece of fiction, so it gets even more creative liberty into being able to do the things that it does when it comes to weaponry and technology and such. It's 500 short tons, which means is pretty much 454 tons. It's 82 feet. It has missiles, S-mines, an electromagnetic pulse field, a paralysis beam, flamethrowers, and 1 megaton intercontinental ballistic missile and a hydrogen bomb. That is fucking insane. That is called an upgrade. That's what we call an upgrade. See, the thing with, no disrespect to Sokolov within the Metal Gear universe, like, he was a genius, he was smart, he was an expert. However, Peace Walker was developed by Huey. Huey Emmerich in the series is a mechanical god. Well, he's not exactly a god, but he's pretty fucking smart. I mean, this guy was able to give himself fucking cybernetic legs in 1984 in Metal Gear Solid 5. This guy is way ahead of the game and way ahead of his peers. This man is a fucking genius on all levels. Not only that, it was also developed by Dr. Strangelove, wink, and she herself was an artificial intelligence specialist. You got the 2 greatest minds in the world who are leaps and bounds ahead of their peers. It's no wonder they were able to create something so advanced for its time, especially when it makes it seem like it's even more advanced than the other Metal Gears that, came after it. But again, one thing that I do want to say is people seem to think that the metal because the Metal Gears look very kind of similar to the later ones, and they're so big and all the shit they have, that doesn't mean it's better. Bigger isn't always better. Every time we build something new, we usually have it in a bigger a big variation of it. A sign of progress in technology is how small and compact we can make that technology. Computers used to be these giant, massive things. They don't need to be that anymore. However, that's not to say that they don't exist. Supercomputers do exist. Look at hard drives. Traditional hard drives, the magnetic hard drives, are actually pretty chunky and big. Progress in technology has allowed us to create even smaller, compact forms of a hard drive and it's even faster. Case in point, flash drives or micro SD cards or just SD cards. Of course, you can't run a damn OS off of that. You can install an OS off of it. You can't run it because, they're built differently. However, they can house more storage and they can be pretty fucking fast. That's always a sign. And another thing, smartphones. Smartphones are just mini computers. They're not really phones, okay? They're actually mini computers. Take a look at desktops. Yes, you don't have the benefits of the desktop in a phone, but that doesn't mean you can't do the essentials on a phone and do a lot of things that a desktop can do, right? Progress is always measured of how small and how compact we can actually make that new tech. So again, yes, Peace Walker was actually, well, we'll get to that in a second. Peace Walker is actually very fucking big. It's so big to the point that an elephant would actually be crushed under its foot. So its footprint would leave an even bigger print than an actual elephant. The whole elephant. So yes, it is big, and yes, it does have a hydrogen bomb. However, the thing about this Metal Gear is that it won't attack unless data and information is given to it that an attack is being given to the United States, because it was the CIA that pretty much spearheaded this project. So if there's an attack incoming and there's information and data about that and the Metal Gear intercepts it, then it will attack, because it was developed with the intention of nuclear deterrence so that nobody else would attack it. And if somebody does attack it, that enemy is going to be blown to fucking kingdom come. You don't want to fuck with this Metal Gear. Hydrogen bomb, baby. That shit is, if I remember correctly, that shit is even stronger than the fucking atom bomb. This shit is insane. Not to mention it's unmanned. However, that also makes it susceptible to unpredictability. You don't know, even though it's developed to follow simple instructions, you don't know how it was gonna, you don't know how such prototype technology is gonna react. Case in point, what happened at the end of Peace Walker. Spoilers, if you do not want to know, please skip this video for like maybe 10 to 20 seconds. At the end of Peace Walker, the AI, which was developed after the personality of Big Boss's mentor, the boss, ends up putting down, quote unquote, its gun and decides not to start nuclear catastrophe. And not only that, you can actually feed the Metal Gear false data, so it doesn't really have to be legit data. Somebody can give the Metal Gear false data, and it'll cause nuclear catastrophe. It's not very reliable. It is very big. But, however, it's not the most agile thing either. Again, the more agile, the more streamlined, the more compact we can make technology is usually a sign of how much we've progressed as a society. That's the down and dirty of it. And now, again, these are the greatest minds on this earth. They're the best, So it's so you need to put that into perspective, and also the context of how the other Metal Gears were built. So we'll keep getting to that. The next Metal Gear was Metal Gear Zeke. Zeke was pretty much kind of like a Frankenstein Metal Gear build, using all the parts from the various bosses in the Peace Walker game, like the pupa, the cocoon, the chrysalis. It took weapons from each and every one of those each and one of those bosses, and it looks very very similar to to the Metal Gear Rex from Metal Gear Solid 1. Again, these are designs and games technically made after a game that happens later in the future. However, so this game also is AI controlled, but it can be manned. So this is even technically it's a bit more reliable, you know. Yes, the human error does exist, but again, you're better off relying on a human than in prototype technology, despite them being developed by the biggest experts and greatest minds on the planet Earth. It has 3 machine guns, missiles, and a railgun. The railgun was actually from the pupa, I think. I cannot remember off the top of my head. No, the rocket. So it has rocket boosters from the pupa. It has the ray dome and railgun from the chrysalis, armor from the cocoon, and legs from Peace Walker. So yes, it even takes the legs from Peace Walker. So let's keep this going. It has guided missiles, a large caliber cannon, electric shot unit, S-mines, EMP pulse field, a paralysis beam, and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Well, one in this case. So I would say it is a bit more streamlined. It doesn't exactly have everything Peace Walker has, but it doesn't really need to. It has pretty much everything that Peace Walker does have, except the hydrogen bomb. Considering who was building Zeke, Outer Heaven, they still wanted their nuclear deterrent, but, you know, they didn't need the hydrogen bomb. It's a dangerous fucking weapon. And that would be insane, you know. I mean, the railgun isn't capable of a nuclear strike the way Metal Gear Rex is from 2005. Again, Metal Gear, Zeke, and Peace Walker were developed in 1974. The Intercontinental Ballistic Metal Gear was developed in 1970. It was not only 4 years of progress and research, but you're also having both of these Metal Gears developed by the greatest minds on Earth. Again, I have to reiterate that because you have to take that into account. Because Zeke wasn't too big, it was more mobile and agile than Peace Walker, considering it could jump across platforms and shit. Now let's get into the next Metal Gear, which was developed 10 years later by, you guessed it, Huey Emmerich and Dr. Strangelove. This Metal Gear is the reason why everyone thinks that it's pretty much... they're pretty much more advanced than later on. But again, not only do you have 10 years worth of progress and development from 2 of the greatest minds. I mean, that's what it is. You have the best of the best. Huey comes from a line of geniuses, or at least his father was a genius and was also involved with the developing of the atom bomb, right? Oh, the curse of the Emmerichs, man, I'm telling you. So Huey Forzoff was developing this Metal Gear for the most part by himself, and of course whoever, you know, the engineers working under him and such like that. It could walk upright, so it wasn't exactly it didn't look like it was being crouched all the time. It could crouch, but for the most part, it was able to actually stand upright. So it is 24 meters. It does come out to a few feet lower, but again, it's still shorter even when it's upright. It has a valid sense. It could sense within a 200-meter radius. It had 2 Gatling guns, 6 guided missile launchers, 4 surveillance mine launchers, 2 metallic archaea nano fiber blades. And the metallic archaea is a mineral found in the earth that was introduced in Metal Gear Solid 5. It's some crazy shit. It has a flamethrower. It has a railgun. Yes, the flamethrower is back. Who doesn't like a good flamethrower? Deployable strain of corrosive metallic archaea. And it also has uranium enrichment, archaea, self-destruction, intercontinental ballistic missile as well. This one was also developed to be manned. However, the cockpit of Sahelanthropus was developed so small that only a child could get in. That is some crazy shit, and it's kind of... I don't want to spoil the game. I don't really want to get into that. It's kind of crazy. So it seems like though Huey did develop it, I think he did this on purpose to pretty much make this Metal Gear Null and Void. Another name for this Metal Gear is the ST-84. From my understanding, I have played the game, but it has been about a good 6 years. So Huey pretty much did this in order to make the Metal Gear non-operable because he didn't want Skullface to actually be able to use it. However, if it was usable, it would be able to do some wild shit concerning all the things that I just mentioned. And it also was being developed to somehow use AI. However, it doesn't really. Regardless, it does have crazy firepower. It is very agile, much like Peace Walker, and it's actually able to jump quite a bit. It's actually able to hop around. I saw it with my own eyes. It was fucking terrifying. So, yes, this is one of the most advanced Metal Gears. However, it is developed in a way where nobody except a child could actually use it. It also happens to be very big. It also happens to be very heavy, so it takes quite a bit for it to even be transported elsewhere. It was also able to deploy Archaea grenades, apparently. It has the Archaea blade. Yes, it has like a fucking blade itself. Surveillance mines, guided missile launchers, again, we're going by in a bit more detail, two Gatling guns, a frontline flamethrower, a railgun, high mobility feet. Also, I want to mention this. Railgun technology was actually a thing already. People were already developing it. They actually started ever since 1918, where they started research into it and to see if it was actually possible. In the 40s, if I remember correctly, they did a patent on it. If not, I apologize. But they were already spearheading technology in order to make it a reality. So just to clear this up, historically, railguns weren't exactly a new thing in regards to, military technology and, geniuses around the world or secret technologies and shit, Except just remember, a lot of this tech isn't public, and a lot of the tech that we may not know about right now isn't public. And of course, like I mentioned before, it had the high mobility feat. So yes, this was a very, very advanced Metal Gear if it was actually able to be used. The only time this thing is actually able to be used, to be quite frank, was when a psychic was able to use anger, emotions, in order to even run it. He's psychic. What else can I say? Metal Gear is also fiction. So, so again, but if we if we remove that, it is pretty advanced. But then again, you're talking about Huey Emmerich and to an extent Dr. Strangelove. This guy is a fucking beast. He's a beast. And to be honest with you, I don't even think we ever saw a genius like him ever until maybe later on. And even then, it's the Metal Gears technically start being developed collectively. You know what I'm saying? So that's the context I need you guys to remember. It's not the fact that they could build it. It's because of the minds that were behind it. So now we have the TX-55 Metal Gear, which was from the original Metal Gear game. So this one it's so cute. It is very small. It's 20.5 tons, again, very heavy. It's only 6 meters tall. It has this maximum speed of 50 kilometers per hour. It has 30 to 100 millimeter tungsten armor, special heat resistant ceramic, 2 by 15 millimeter machine guns, 1 by 20 centimeter laser cannon, and two intermediate range ballistic missiles. So again, this thing is walking nuclear weapon. It still is. However, the designer for this was Drago Petrovich Madnar, completely different scientist and a person that was in a different field altogether. Their field, they were more of robotics engineer as well as a cybernetic engineer. So again, this is kind of a spoiler. At least skip 30 seconds to a minute, maybe. So in Metal Gear Solid 5, because of Huey's actions, which I honestly kind of forget, I honestly had to go play that again. He's pretty much fired from outer heaven. They pretty much leave him. They leave him be. So Big Boss doesn't really have the genius of Huey Emmerich anymore. So later on, years later, in 1995, he finally is able to use Dr. Madnar. And though Madnar, from what I've researched, is a pretty intelligent and pretty genius guy, and probably the guy that we see at the beginning of the Phantom Pain that is helping you get up from your coma, dude, that guy does not age, I guess, right? He was still able to develop a pretty advanced weaponry, but he's no Huey Emmerich. You know? This thing is pretty good. Pretty good. But it was also a prototype. It was only meant to be a nuclear deterrent for outer heaven, and also besides the things that I just mentioned, it had 3 sensors: a camera sight, TV sight, and a lower sight. It had a Skyalert radar. It also, which was equipped onto its nuclear launch module. And I'm sorry if it may seem like I'm reading the wiki, because I kind of am. I don't have this. I don't have this information at the top of my head, though some of it I do. And of course, the context. Now, of course, this was the prototype. The next one is actually the Metal Gear D, which it's a more streamlined version of that model. And Dr. Magnar also created it for Outer Heaven and Big Boss. It has a 60mm rotary cannon, 5.56mm machine gun, 6 missile pods, 2 smoke discharger, double launcher pad, a surface to air missiles, a 75mm gun, and 6 short to medium range ballistic missiles. And it also had 3 barrel types, and it had shell types for the 5.56mm machine gun, which were duplex, AP, flatjet. It was able to hold 6 missiles, and the warhead types were the radar homing ones, environmental searching, infrared tailing, and the X-ray line scanning. This was quite an upgrade for the prototype, if I have to say so myself. But again, are they the other models? In a way, they're kind of better. They're still manned models. They're also quicker, and it's not overly huge and humongous. Again, progress. The big Metal Gears, yes, they were very big and they had a lot of shit on it, but that doesn't always mean it's better. I can't say for sure if it uses less energy than the other models. It's a very impressive piece of weaponry, but you have to always remember the guy behind the tech. Not everything that comes later is more improved just because it comes later. The next Metal Gear, Rex. Yes, Metal Gear Rex. The one that we see the blueprints of Granon's office in 1964, and the other Metal Gears that heavily look like it. And it also happens to have the iconic legs, the mouth, the radome, the railgun. This was actually manufactured collectively. And get this, it was the chief engineer for this was none other than Hal Emmerich, Huey's son. This man was also a genius, and he was also ahead of his peers. However, he couldn't do it alone, as it was a pretty joint effort to make this thing a reality. That doesn't mean he wasn't smart. That doesn't mean he isn't a genius, because he did a lot of things for Metal Gear Rex that were actually very impressive. It's also only 13 meters, 42.7 feet. It is composite armor. It has a railgun, 2x30mm XGAU 8R rotary cannons. Again, guys, I'm not gonna pretend like I know what a lot of these things mean. However, I know they're very advanced. So let's continue. AGM-114P anti-tank missiles, a negative 100 megawatt free electron laser, and also a railgun. Again, the railgun was able to launch a stealth warhead. This was the thing that made Metal Gear Rex the king. It's great. And not only that, Otacon, spoiler alert for Metal Gear Solid 4. Otacon, skip maybe 15 seconds. Otacon was actually actually was able to implement a program called like Street Fighter or something like that, so it was able to make it more agile and fight and things like that. You know, that's as simple as I'm gonna make it. Okay, it was able to do some crazy shit that the other Metal Gears couldn't, like fight. It's not as ridiculous as it sounds, even though these things kind of are ridiculous and scary. What made this thing so out of this world was the fact that it was able to bypass nuclear treaties globally, because technically it has a railgun, and if it's shooting this nuclear warhead through a railgun, then it can, you know, get away with whatever the fuck the United States wanted to do, or at least the people that the main people that were spearheading this. Okay, so again, it wasn't unmanned. It was actually designs for somebody to actually man it, just like the past two, just like Zeke, and to an extent, you can say Sahelanthropus. It was made in order to be piloted by somebody. It also had a radome on the left with multiple electronic sensors that were connected to a VR interface within the pilot seat, so they didn't have to actually open the cockpit or the mouth of the Metal Gear to see what they were shooting. This was the way they would actually pilot the thing and to hit things with the utmost accuracy. But however, if you destroyed the radome, you pretty much cut off the feed, and the VR interface wouldn't exactly work. So that means that the pilot would have to manually open it in order to fire. And it was designed on purpose by Otacon because according to Otacon, it wouldn't be complete without a character flaw. So that's what he pretty much did. So it did have legs, and not only did it have its legs, and it was also pretty agile, though it couldn't hop like Sahelanthropus and Zeke. It could run for quite a bit, and it also had retractable metal stake protrusions that were pretty much able to keep it in place if it was going too fast, or maybe like it was falling down or whatever, just to help. And of course, I've already mentioned all the other things that it has. It had very strong armor, to put it mildly, I guess. It had, again, a laser. It was able to fight. It was able to it had a VR interface. It had the railgun, and not only did it have the railgun, it could stealth launch a nuke using it to wherever it wanted to. And it did use quite a bit of energy for the laser. So again, this Metal Gear Rex was nothing to scoff at. It was, and also it has all of this: the anti-tank missiles, the cannons, the railgun, the stealth nuclear warhead, and the laser. And it's not even that big. In fact, it's two times as small as Metal Gear Peace Walker. Now that's progress right there. We are going to count the final one for Metal Gear Rising. However, let's head into Metal Gear Ray, which was a very, very advanced piece of technology. Spoilers for the next 15 to 20 seconds. At the end of Metal Gear Solid 1 and at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 2, we know that Ocelot leaked information about Metal Gear Rex onto the black market, so everyone is making their own version of Metal Gears, including nuclear capabilities. Metal Gear Ray was created specifically by the Marine Corps in order to take on these, and it was also manned. The prototype was manned. It was amphibious, so it could actually swim. Yeah, it could swim. It was taller than Metal Gear Rex, but it didn't matter. It was also the most agile Metal Gear ever developed. Again, it didn't have any nuclear capabilities because, again, it's being developed by the United States Marine Corps. They're trying to over here be within the realms of what is acceptable around the world and regarding the treaties. However, it still is classified as a Metal Gear Ray because it's meant to take on and destroy weapons that have nuclear capabilities. And it's also a bipedal tank. It has ceramic titanium alloy. It had 2 machine guns, anti-tank missiles, anti-ship missiles, a water jet cutter. This thing is insane. And it had cluster missiles. This was nothing to scoff at. Not only that, it had a tail, and it would allow it to maneuver itself and go to whichever direction and steer it within the water. The cockpit controls acted as a harness, so it pressured the pilot into the seat so they wouldn't be thrown out. The wings, it looks like it has wings, right? but it was a propulsion system. The water cutter that I just mentioned was actually able to pierce through even dense armor, so it's super highly pressured water and a very narrow stream at that. It was able to send homing missiles, cluster bombs, knee-mounted missiles for ground self-defense, and of course the armor was nothing to scoff at. It did have a more organic design, more streamlined design, better maneuverability like I've mentioned before, but the inner workings were almost organic. This is the thing that changed the game with Metal Gear Ray, because it had artificial fibers that would contract when electricity was applied, like our muscles, instead of hydraulics like all the other Metal Gears were. It was kind of like muscle tissue. It had a nervous system type of network of conductive nanotubes apparently, and those connected the sensor systems within the entire Metal Gear, and it would relay commands from the cockpit to other parts of the body, and it would bypass damage systems, and it would reroute the auxiliary systems when needed. Again, I'm not gonna pretend like I know a lot of what this stuff means, but it's some crazy shit, If you kind of want to get it in simple terms, I mean, you can kind of guess what it would do. However, this is the one that I've been waiting to say.
Get a load of this. All right.
It had blood-like armor repair nanopaste, and it was secreted from the valves and would coagulate wherever the exterior surface was damaged. This shit was able to auto repair itself if it was fucking damaged on the exterior. That's next level shit right there. Again, this wasn't developed by Otacon, but damn if it's not an impressive piece of weaponry. And to top it all off, I mentioned all this shit. It doesn't even have nuclear launch capabilities, but damn if this is not advanced, then I don't know what to tell you. If it can take down something like Metal Gear Rex, then it would more than likely be able to take down something like the other Metal Gears, just because we know that they've improved. These things have improved. Okay, and not only that, Metal Gear, oh my god, I keep on saying that, but Metal Gear Ray had different types, right? They had the manned version, and then it had the unmanned version, which was the mass-produced version. So this one wasn't exactly manned by a pilot, but it was AI controlled. We're back at AI. But then again, Metal Gear Ray was developed in 2007 within the Metal Gear verse, and by then AI and VR were already something so well established and at a level you could not even fathom. Artificial intelligence in Metal Gear at the time was indistinguishable, almost indistinguishable from humans. And now finally we're at the end. Metal Gear Excelsius, the big boy from Metal Gear Rising, developed in 2018. So this one is Metal Gear Excelsius. It had 2 plasma cannons, 2 retractable blades, and missile modules. And it was hexapedal, which means it had 6 legs. Yes, we're back to the Peace Walker days. It was more agile. It was capable of tunneling, able to climb itself out of some situations pretty well, according to what we see in the game. It had a cockpit, so it was manned. It's not AI. It's not unmanned. It even had a type of elevator platform for the cockpit. It also used the holograms and VR environments the similar way to Rex. It was completely enclosed. It had some pedals when you use it. I do remember that when Armstrong was using it. It's able to bulldoze environments, and it was developed to be able to go through cities. And apparently this was overkill. This Metal Gear also doesn't have a nuclear capabilities, but it could be modified to do it. Again, if this thing had nuclear capabilities and as agile as it was and the abilities that it has, it would be pretty fucking strong. 2 plasma cannons, 2 retractable blades, yeah, blades, and it has the missile modules and 6 legs. And of course it has the VR and the holograms, and it has the elevator cockpit, the elevator platform to get into the cockpit. I would say it's a bit more standard. However, I think the physical capabilities are a bit more, kind of make up for that, I guess. Compared to like Metal Gear Ray, I personally am more impressed by Metal Gear Ray. I went through pretty much all the Metal Gears. I felt like I went through the necessary context as to why the ones from later are technically are better, but at the same time they're kind of not. But not because they had better technology at the time or they were able to even make a better Metal Gear collectively, but it's because of the minds that were at the helm. Otacon, Very smart guy. Very. I mean, come on. The little Metal Gear Mark III. Come on. This guy is smart. He's a genius. He's a genius. To compare him to Huey Emmerich, that's the thing. Like, I think Huey Emmerich was on another level, man. And it's a testament to his intelligence because of the limited resources and the type and where technology was at the time. This guy was still able to give himself legs in Metal Gear Solid 4 in 1984. No, he didn't replace his legs, but they were kind of like hydraulics. They were pretty much additions to his legs. It allowed him to walk, and he pretty much had kind of like a remote control to help him. To have that kind of mind and to be able to do the things that he did at the time is very impressive. And I would say it's actually more impressive than what Otacon did. Otacon is nothing to scoff at either, considering he was still able to design Rex. However, he had the luxury of having plans and schematics and blueprints of Metal Gears already existing and swapping hands within government agencies. Huey had to actually create it from scratch. Metal Gear was the mind of a Soviet person, or of a Soviet Union scientist in 1964. Would he have been able to make this? Probably. Considering he was colleagues with Huey, because they were acquaintances. They knew each other. Granin actually sent these plans to Huey back in Metal Gear Solid 3. He actually does state this. There's various reasons why the new Metal Gears are actually more impressive and are actually more advanced. They're more mobile, they're smaller, they're actually manned, though Metal Gear Ray has an unmanned version. Stealth, nuclear capabilities. They also don't happen to have crazy shit like the hydrogen bomb that you never know what's gonna fucking happen, because if that thing goes off, it's tens of times stronger than an atom bomb. It's insane. They're definitely more reliable. They're actually able to be manned. Hello, Sahelanthropus. They're not too big. They don't need all that stuff. They're more streamlined pieces of tech that are supposed to do what they're meant to do, which is to be a walking nuclear weapon. The other Metal Gears, though impressive, and though they do have very dangerous weapons, they're just too big, they're bulky, they're slow. However, Zeke and Sahelanthropus can hop. They do have a lot of weapons at their disposal, but they're pretty much designed not to work as well as the later models. The answer, yes and no. This was a very fun video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you'd like to follow my social media, it's in the description. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.